Hey guys, I'm in a process of fine-tuning the build Galvanic Arrow with the brush support, which makes it very flashy and cool looking, and with the Doryani's prototype. So this is a full lighting, and the idea for this is actually I did a build like that in the Metamorph League, but back when we did not have Doryani's prototype, and back then it was a much cheaper version. It didn't even have 1 million DPS, but back then I think you didn't need as much damage. It wasn't that great, but it was the most fun build that I ever played, so I kind of wanted to remake it, but make it much more viable. And this is, by the way, build in progress. This is not a finished build. I'm gonna do a full build guide video later once I'm done with it, because I still need to figure out how to better approach certain things. So this time is gonna be more damage, more speed, more hits per second. I'm currently over, like, I don't know, 130 hits per second or something like that. And this version is gonna be using Doryani's prototype, so I'm trying to lower my lighting res, but it's only gonna be like -80. Don't need to push more than that. But also this one is using Divine Flash, and Divine Flash, 50% of elemental damage taken as Chaos damage, and then +10 to maximum Chaos res. And I'm currently capped at my Chaos 86 Chaos res. That's because I have +1 maximum Chaos res from Anti-Venom Cluster Jewel. I also got Supercharge, but I'm gonna talk about those later. The amulet, I'm still haven't made the right talisman, because I need 50% of lightning damage from hits taken as fire damage or as cold damage. I don't have exact amulet, but the implicit would look something like that, but it's for lightning damage taken as cold or fire. And I specifically wanted Cleanse Thoughts, because Cleanse Thoughts Anointment doubles my Chaos res, so it makes capping Chaos res very easy. But if I cannot get a talisman, and I'm thinking that I may want to keep this because this one just gives so much life, 10% to maximum life and then 81 to flat life and other good resistances, I may not want to replace that. So I got two last amulets that I'm gonna try to make into talisman, and if these fails, I'm just gonna stick with that and just accept that sometimes when I get hit by lightning, I'll just die. But other than that, Divine Flash does make me pretty tanky, especially against other elements. The lighting is still scary, but not as scary as when having just that talisman without Divine Flash. Obviously, with Divine Flash and the talisman, I would be completely safe against lightning. Well, not completely safe, it's not like complete mitigation, but the armor would not have like a negative effect on me then. The cool part about this armor, and I already did a build Doryani's Fist with this body armor, and I defeated Awakening 8 Cirrus almost deathless, so this body armor is so underrated. I still don't see many people use this, but it makes really easy mapping, because like imagine enemies spawning, like rare enemies spawning with nearby allies have increased resistances, doesn't matter. Map mode that increases enemies resistance, doesn't matter. Equilibrium doesn't matter. The only thing that does matter, the only way that enemies can become tanker, is that if they have a lot of life, like a bunch of attack speed and leech, maybe soul stealer, or if you are cursed with elemental weakness, with enfeeble. Nothing really else stops you, basically. I'm gonna go over my items, what I have else. This is, by the way, Raider. The previous version that I did with this was also Raider, because Frenzy Charge Generation just gives you so much speed and damage, and you can get Tailwind boots on the boots. This is, by the way, non-crit build. I do have some crit, but crit version would be too difficult to make on this, or at least it would be much more expensive. I'm still sticking with the Quill Rain, but in the end I may actually try to craft a rare bow, or at least see how it would look in PUB, and maybe I would keep the rare bow, or maybe I would go with the Quill Rain. By the way, I may actually go with the corrupted Quill Rain, 6-link corrupted Quill Rain with the faster projectiles, because the cone is mostly affected by the projectile speed and AoE, but I don't think that AoE does too much for it. The Quill Rain itself has quite a lot of projectile speed, and if you get faster projectiles, that's kind of a 6-link, which is more damage, I guess. But we'll see, maybe a rare bow would in the end work well. So I recently crafted this quiver, which gives bow attacks, fire, and additional arrow, which is a massive DPS increase for me, because every projectile gives a lot of damage. That's why I'm using Dying Sun now. 2 projectiles, I believe, in the end will give me around 600k DPS. So just clicking Dying Sun would give me 600k DPS. And by the way, talking about numbers, in PUB, this is by the way not finished, like I said multiple times. These numbers are kind of theoretical. I haven't achieved these numbers yet in game, but I'm trying to get close to these numbers. And this is, by the way, not my actual DPS. This is DPS with cone only. It also does have an arrow. And if all the arrows hit, and they should, if you're standing close to the target, then you basically double the DPS. So it's gonna be over 3 million DPS. Now the thing is, one of the items that I still haven't decided if I'm gonna be using or not are these gloves. These gloves would give me more damage. They would give me more damage, but then I would lose Intimidate. Now if you compare with the... and I could get these gloves corrupted with +1 frenzy charge, it's just... I would have way less life, and these gloves, I'm not even sure if they are working properly. It just sometimes feels like they are not working properly. I am hitting in... I'm making enough hits per second to apply maximum wither stacks in like less than 1 second. It just doesn't feel like it's working sometimes. I don't know, it's just weird. I don't want to trust these gloves, but we'll see. Just to compare the numbers, that's with the gloves, and I believe that's without the aspect of the spider. Now if I switch to +1 Tombfist, and +1 I mean +1 frenzy charge Tombfist, and then enable Intimidate, you can see the damage is like 300k difference. Actually that's 600k, because that's, you need to multiply that by 2. So the difference is quite noticeable. By the way, some people may think that why I entered -130, because I have like -80 lighting res. That's because when you select Cirrus, it adds 50 elemental resistances. You can see it adds 50 elemental resistance, 30 heals, 100% increased armor, and 66 less effect of curses. You basically add that 50 to the minus that you need to lower. It's not how much resistances enemies have, but it's how much you lower resistance. That's what I mean. So like I said, I still haven't figured out what I'm gonna do with the cluster jewels, because life getting a hit would be nice, but I also need Hero's Rest, and I would also want mana on hit. I think it's something I needed. I think the Quill Rain is just enough. So it depends on the amulet. If I can get the right amulet, it may not have the double Chaos Rest, and it may have... what else do I have? I have Purity of Flesh, which I actually don't remember what it does. It was that, just to give me more life and a bit more Chaos Rest. And then I may try to cap Chaos Rest by getting more Chaos Rest on boots and on Abyss Jewels somewhere. On Abyss Jewels, I'm just trying to stack life, flat lighting damage, because the bow itself doesn't have much damage. So almost all of the damage is coming from well, the body armor obviously, but the flat damage is coming from jewels and Wrath and Herald of Thunder. I would still like to get Wrath level 21. That would be quite a big damage increase. Also recently bought Awaken Added Lighting, but that's probably gonna take forever to level 2 at least. The rest of the items, the Torrent's Reclamation, sadly doesn't have life, but it does give speed. We'll see about that. Maybe I can get something else, would be cheaper option. Boots, Tailwind, still need to fix the Chaos Res. I need to craft Aspect of the Spider on something, so I still haven't decided where to put it. Also this one, surprisingly it was pretty cheap to get this helmet with the Galvanic Arrow damage enchantment. But now I'm thinking maybe I should have gotten the Galvanic Arrow projectile speed enchantment. which would be less damage, but it would allow you to reach more, because this build does not have good clear speed. I mean, you are moving fast, but you also have to work really hard to clear, because you don't have any explosions and you don't really reach that far, and I do have point blank, so kind of still need to stay close to enemies. I still need to improve the items, still need to get more levels. This is only level 83, so probably like 10 more levels. By the way, for the Thread of Hope, I'm not really getting that many things. Intelligence is a bit of an issue. I would like to refine this point also to get a better this one, but that's gonna have less CS. It needs to be improved a lot more. So, and I don't really have that much currency, so I still need to farm, so it's gonna take a couple more days. That's what I'm trying to say basically. But I'm gonna include path of building import code for this kind of theoretical build. Not really what the build is in the current state, but the theoretical build, and also link to my previous build with Galvanic Arrow from Metamorph League if you want to kind of make a cheaper version of this. Yeah, so that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.